I'm sitting in my living room. It's about 10:40, and I had a long day. This morning, I did take the animals to the vet to get their shot of Zactran, and I also got them an intranasal vaccination. And then I also got it dewormed. I got them dewormed, and my leg is cramping up too. I don't know. The doctor, they did something to my leg. They pumped one of my veins full of this foam. They were telling me they're gonna put a foam in it, and that foam will it's like this I don't know, it's like this foam that the dissolves, I guess, after a while. It just kind of dissolves away after a while, but it blocks the vein and it slowly shuts the vein down, and it's been making my leg like cramp pretty severely every once in a while. About maybe about 5 to 10 times today, I'll just be standing on my leg and my leg will start cramping. And so I figured, well, it's probably just a part of the process, and I'll be going back to the doctor on Thursday anyway. And so I'll ask him about it, but it's probably okay. I mean, I'm not having a famous last words, right? I don't think it's that bad. But it feels like I guess it might just be working. I'm not sure. It feels like my leg cramps like real hard. It's like a like electricity going down my leg, right where that vein is. It just makes me it almost feels like exactly like a cramp, and it happens right where the vein is. And so I figured, well, maybe the vein is just getting blocked off, and it's just running its course. But this morning, I did take the animals to the vet to get their shot of Zactran, and I also got them their intranasal vaccination, and I also got them dewormed. Tomorrow morning, I will show you all the new calves. I will show you all the new calves tomorrow morning. They're doing good. They're doing good. I don't really have any. None of the calves are balling now. They've all stopped balling, and so I just ate about $2 worth of strawberries. I don't, if y'all I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's just in Texas, but we get a lot of real cheap strawberries at this time of the year. Our strawberries are super cheap. I mean, if you spend like $5 on a container of strawberries, you can get a whole bunch of them. And I just ate like $2 worth of strawberries, and I'm super full. And I'm drinking a bottle of water, and I'm super full. And strawberries are super good. They're super good. They don't cost very much. I mean, I think they probably ate about $2 worth of strawberries, and I am completely full. And so, yep, strawberries are in season, and they're real good, and they're very cheap. They're real good, and they're very cheap. And I got a new piece of land that I'm looking at right now. I got a new piece of land that I'm looking at right now. It looks like it's I'll probably end up buying it. To be honest with y'all, I'll probably end up buying it. It's not a very big deal, but it's about 90 acres of land for just about a $500,000. I'll probably end up buying it. It's a very very little floodplain on it. Just on one little corner of the property, there's a floodplain, and it's sitting on top of an aquifer. So it's sitting on top of the aquifer, so it has access to a lot of groundwater. And I was like, you know what? I might as well just buy it because it's free, right? I've talked about this whole thing about buying land. How do I buy land? I haven't spoken about this in a while. But when you're taking a look at a contract, there's only really two ways to negotiate any contract, and it's either you get good terms or you get a good price, right? It's the only two ways. Every contract only has two ways, or only has two things that make the contract, and the contract is effectively just a price and then the terms for that price. And so, I got a piece of land that I'm looking at, and I'm sitting here, and I'm thinking about how do I want to make the deal, right? I've always said that when you make a deal, my whole thing is that you should really take a lot of time to think about what you're offering, right? You want to take a lot of time to think about what you're offering, and make sure that you have a good deal that you present, right? So, either I'm looking for a reduction in the price, or I'm looking for better terms. And I'll probably end up buying it. It looks like a good deal, and I'm not worried about the cost because the thing about me is that when I farm, I make I make a large amount of money. All right, when I farm, I make a large amount of money. I do very well for myself, and I'll show you all the new animals tomorrow. I make a large amount of money. I do very well for myself. When I take a look at it for what it is right now, I actually do have 35 animals. So I don't know why I was having a very hard time finding my 20th calf. But every time I counted them out, I had 19. I was like, why do I have 19 calves? I had 19 calves for like 2 or 3 days in a row. And then today I went out there and I counted them. And I guess the 20th calf decided to join the rest of the herd and come up to the front because I did find that 20th calf because I was like, what the heck is going on? I thought I'm pretty certain I had 20 animals. I mean, I was counting them when I was running them through the chute, and then I was like, what happened to my calf? I mean, did I count them wrong? And then I was thinking maybe I counted them wrong, and then I counted them again today, and I do have 20. So, well, technically I have 30 because now I have 10 in the front yard too, and I have a 15 over on the lease property. So when I take a look at my whole situation, the 10 animals that I brought in, 8 out of 10 of them were between 400 and 465 pounds. So effectively, 8 of them were between 400 and 400, effectively they were roughly about 450 pounds for the 8 of them. And then 2 of them, one of them weighed 265 and the other one weighed, it was either 275 or 295. And so, I bought a bunch of 400-pound animals. And these 400-pound animals, and I was speaking about this yesterday, the reason that I did that was so that I could just put them on the grass because I have a boatload of grass out there right now. I've already grown it. The whole idea of saving money on grass is kind of ridiculous. There are better things to think about. I already have the grass. I just put the animals out on it. And I don't want to be fiddle farting around with a 200-pound animal, putting them on the grass. I don't really want to be doing that. And so I just went ahead and bought them at 400 pounds, and the big idea is that I purchased them at commodity prices. I paid $1,377 per animal. I actually said, right, I said this, I've been saying this for a long time. When you buy an animal that's about 300-400 pounds, something like that, you'll pay between $1,300 and $1,400, right? That's with the feeder cattle market sitting at about 280. That's about the going rate, right? It's about $1,300, $1,400, and I took my own advice. Okay, remember, let's take a moment to just consider this. That I actually took my own advice. Okay, I took my own advice. I was saying that if in a situation, a 400-pound animal, the workload on a 400-pound animal will be significantly less than a 200-pound animal. The workload on a 800-pound animal will be significantly less than a 400-pound animal. All right, but even an 800-pound, but the big thing about an 800-pound animal is that now you're talking about a feeder cattle, like a feeder cattle animal, and you're talking about a feeder animal. And if you're gonna buy them at 800 pounds, the only reason to buy them at 800 pounds is to finish them. Is to finish them properly, and if you're gonna finish them properly, you're gonna need a lot of food to do that. All right, you're probably gonna need access to a large amount of commodities, and because if you want to finish an animal, you're effectively talking about an 800-pound animal that has a maximum frame. All right, their frame is not really gonna grow anymore. If it grows anymore, it's going to grow very slowly, all right? It's going to grow very slowly. The frame of the animal is going to grow very slowly. They're effectively at a maximum frame size just about, or they're very close to being at their maximum frame size. And you're effectively just looking to fatten the animal up pretty drastically, right? I mean, you're looking to put on an 800-pound animal, it's not very hard to put on over 3 pounds a day. All right, on an 800-pound animal, it is not very difficult to put on over 3 pounds a day. You can do that pretty easily just by feeding them, a pretty basic ration. All right, you can go on the internet and look up any sort of a basic ration, and there are many examples of rations that you can use to put over 3 pounds a day on an animal. Okay, on an 800-pound animal. Should you use that same exact ration on a 400-pound animal? Probably not. All right, probably not. The finishing ration is not really exactly good for a growing backgrounder calf. And should you give that same diet to a 200-pound animal? I can almost guarantee you probably not. A 200-pound animal most likely should not be eating a finishing ration. If they're eating a finishing ration, they will probably end up with acidosis, okay? Because a 200-pound animal should not be eating a diet that's going to put on 4 pounds a day on that animal. I mean, well, number one, they will probably end up with acidosis, okay? They will probably end up with acidosis. When you got an 800-pound animal, you can feed them a lot of food. You can feed them a lot. You can give them a large amount of food. You can give them, if they look like they're going to have acidosis, you can do whatever, right? I mean, you can, put a little bit of calcium carbonate, in their feed, or you can feed them hay, or, you can reduce the amount of grain. There are a lot of things that you can do for an 800-pound animal just because their rumen is so large. All right, their rumen is so large that they can handle large amounts of food. And if an 800-pound animal has diarrhea for a day or two, if an 800-pound animal bloats for a day or two, it's usually not the end of the world. Okay, it's usually you should probably get a grip of the situation and understand what's going on, and that should not be going on prolonged periods of time. But if it happens for a day or two, it's not that usually for about a day it's not that bad. But if a 200-pound animal has diarrhea, develops it develops not even massive acidosis, but develops acidosis for one day, that could turn into a very serious situation very quickly. That calf could end up having problems very quickly. All right, you don't want to give a 200-pound animal acidosis. That's very problematic. Even if it's just for one day, you don't want to do that. All right, especially if you just bought them from the sale barn, and maybe they were weaned at the sale barn, right? There's a possibility that they were weaned at the sale barn. I mean, you brought home a bunch of high-risk calves, and then you gave them acidosis one time, and then it's effectively game over. Now the animals are freaking out. They're having diarrhea. Their immune system is probably shot. I mean, and then it just turns into a massive cataclysmic kind of thing, okay? And so just understand that I took my own advice. All right, let's take a look at it. I actually did what I recommend other people do, okay? I actually did it. And so that's the whole thing about me, is that I don't just tell you something and then just go and do something else, right? I give you the best information that I can. At the end of the day, I don't help people. I don't save people. If every single last one of you dropped dead, it wouldn't matter to me. All right. I've already talked about this in terms of a reality sense. There is no saving anybody. Okay, and if you actually look at being successful, it doesn't matter. I mean, the success rate for anything is very, 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 very low. All right. I mean, it's like if you want to go and you want to grow grass like how I grow grass, your success rate is going to be very low. If you want to run cattle like how I run cattle, your success rate is going to be very low. All right. If you want to run a business like me, make money like me, your success rate is going to be very low. And then you put all of that together and you're attempting to do all of that at the same time, your success rate is going to be drastically low. And I'm not looking to float my own boat. I'm not bragging about it. I am telling you the honest truth. All right, I legitimately don't know anybody that even does 10%. All right, my life is not an opinion, right? I'm not talking about my opinion. I show you what I do, and when I take a look at what I'm doing, I actually took my own advice. This is a very good time for me to show you what exactly that I mean, right? I bought a bunch of 400-pound animals, and why did I do that? I purchased them at commodity prices, and I just went ahead and brought them home. I brought home commodity animals at commodity prices, and then I just put them out on the grass, okay? All right, I don't want, the workload is significantly lower on a 400-pound animal than a 200-pound animal. So, I just went ahead and I bought a bunch of 400-pound animals, all right? I bought a bunch of 400-pound animals. I brought them home, and I put them out on the grass. And here in about 3 months or so, they'll all effectively be going to the sale barn, and they'll probably hit the scale at about 700 pounds. I got a set of animals going for the sale barn in 3 weeks, and then I'll have another set of animals going to the sale barn about 2 months after that, and then I'll have another set of animals. And here's the thing, and I've already decided that I will reinvest all of my money, right? And I've even whatever. If I decide that I feel like spending some money, I can just sell one or two of my animals and pocket the money, pay out the dividend, and then just go and buy whatever it is that I want. And I don't have to sit around and I've told myself, because it's and the whole thing about, oh well, should I buy it? Should I not buy it? And oh well, it kind of turns into a waste of time. I mean, okay, here's the thing. Over the next 3 months, I will more than likely, all right, what will probably end up happening when I just tell you what direction I am going, all right? This is what I am planning to do. This is the direction that I'm going. When I liquidate my 44 animals, because I may have one animal die here, and let's say that I even have another animal die, whatever it may be, 43 animals, 44 animals, who cares? 41 animals, who cares? When I liquidate these animals, I will probably make enough money to buy somewhere around 75 to 80 animals, okay? If I just follow the business plan, I will make enough money to buy about 75 to 80 animals. I will be able to buy about 3 loads of grain, and I will be able to buy everything else that I need, 2 loads of fertilizer, etc., etc. All right, I probably will. Let's just be honest about it. I'm just giving you the honest information. I'm giving you honest information. Here in about 3 months, when I sell these animals, I will probably make enough money. I have 45 animals right now, but let's just say whatever, 40 to 45, something like that. And let's give it that range, 40 to 45. So when I liquidate these 40 to 45 animals, I will probably make enough money to buy like 75 to 80. I can buy 75 to 80 calves, maybe even a little bit more. Maybe even, let's just say 75 to 80 to lowball it. And I will be able to buy like 3 loads of grain. And I will be able to buy all the medication that I need for the animals. I'll be able to pay for everything. All right. And I will still probably have a couple $1,000s left over. I probably will. All right. I probably will. Maybe like $5,000 or something left over. And when I do that, I am actually I am okay, because right now in my situation, I am effectively getting paid every about 2 to 2.5 months, and I will effectively increase my rate of payment to about once a month. I'll be getting paid about once a month. Okay, I'll be about doubling my income over the next 3 months. And I even found a piece of land that I will go and look at it, and on a piece of paper it sounds good, but I have to go and take a look at it. Okay, I have to go and take a look at it, and if I even reasonably like it, I will buy it, because it's practically just free. All right, I don't have to worry about the cost, because if I buy the land and I run the cattle, then the cattle will pay for the land. That's why, okay? There's no reason for me to worry about $500,000. $500,000 for real estate, $500,000 worth of real estate is like $2,500, $3,000 a month. I don't care about $2,500, $3,000, all right? And the field is on top of an aquifer. All right, that's what kind of caught my attention, was that the field is on top of an aquifer, and it's not in a flood zone. All right, like 90% plus of the property is not in a flood zone, and the price is good too. The price is good, and so I was like, I'd probably just end up buying it, just because it's over there by my lease property too. It's over by my lease property, and so I might as well just buy it. And I might as well just buy it. All right. And so I'm taking a look at the whole situation, and over the next 3 months, I will more than likely end up liquidating all 45 of my calves, 40 to 45 of my calves. When I liquidate these 40 to 45 animals, I will end up with enough money to buy 75, 80 calves, maybe even 85, or let's just say 75 to 80 calves. I will have enough money to buy like 75 to 80 calves. I will be able to buy 3 loads of grain, and I could buy 2 loads of fertilizer, and I could buy whatever else it is that I need. And 2.5 months after that, I will be getting paid again. And then after that, I will probably be getting paid every month. All right, I'm actually probably more than likely what will end up happening is that I will end up getting paid every month instead of every 2 months. All right, I'm effectively looking to double my income over the next 3 months. I will. That's the direction that I'm going. I've decided that that is what I'm going to do. I've taken a look at what I'm doing, and that's what I've decided to do. I will make more money. I will probably end up doubling my income over the next 3 months. All right, I probably will. And in this situation, all right, when I take a look at it for what it is, in this situation in its entirety, all right, in its entirety, if I feel like, oh well, I can just sell 1 or 2 of my animals, right? I should just go and sell 1 or 2 of my animals, right? I just feel like buying something. I just feel like whatever, buying something. I just feel like buying something, and it's gonna be whatever $5,000. Then I can just sell, a couple of my animals. Oh, I feel like buying something. I just feel like, putting whatever $4,000 in my pocket. Then I can just sell a couple of animals. Okay, I can just sell a couple of animals, put the money in my pocket, and go and buy whatever else it is that I want. Because here's the thing. When I double the size of my business, I may even double the size of the overall direction that I am looking to go is to double the size of my business. I will actually probably more than double the size of my business 2 times. I may end up even increasing the size of my business by 500% because I'm actually looking to utilize leverage as well. I'm not looking to just reinvest my earnings. I'm also looking to utilize leverage. And so I probably will not, I may actually end up increasing my income by 500% by the end of the year, something like that. 500%. It probably won't be 400%. It may even be 500%. All right, so I may legitimately end up even increasing my income by 500%. And I've decided to make more money, okay? I've decided to make more money. I said, why not? All right, I'm not gonna sell my soul to the devil for it. I don't, whatever, right? I've already talked about the cattle business. Is that me? I didn't just go on a magical journey and say, oh my God, I'm gonna do whatever I want. And when I do that, I should be, cradled like some gift to the earth, and everybody should just give me what I want, right? I didn't do that, right? The commercial cattle business is the commercial cattle business. I took a look at what was going on with the commercial cattle business. I learned, I learned the commercial cattle business, and then I got involved in the commercial cattle business, and that's how I made money. And why did I do that? Because the commercial cattle business is a massive market. Cattle will effectively be worth money from now until infinity. As long as humanity exists, cattle will be worth money, okay? Cattle will be worth something to somebody as long as humanity exists, okay? Cattle will be worth something. And the whole thing about, if anything, the cost of an animal will actually go up. All right, the price of cattle will probably go up in 50 years. I would be willing to bet that if you go to a grocery store right now and you buy a New York strip, you buy a New York strip steak and you pay $10 a pound for it, I would be willing to bet that in 50 years you will be paying more than $10 a pound. In 40 years, you will be paying more than $10 a pound. If you're paying $10 a pound for it today, you will be paying more than $10 a pound for it in 40 years, all right? Most people probably, I'm not gonna say most. I mean, the price of the steak will probably be higher. Beef will be worth more in 40 years than it is today. It probably will. All right, beef is never going to zero. That's a ridiculous thing to think about. Beef is like the meat of choice of America. Okay, most people, if you gave them the choice between having a steak and having a chicken thigh or a chicken breast or a chicken wing, if you gave them the choice between the two, most people would choose a steak. All right, Americans eat beef. All right, Americans eat beef. It's our local market. The consumer has decided, and that's what the consumer wants. Commercial beef is what the consumer wants. The commercial beef industry is so large because people buy commercial beef. All right, people buy commercial beef. That's why it's such a large business. All right, so commercial beef will effectively always exist. Okay, and I talk about commercial beef standards all the time. How to determine you don't want a bone thin animal. You need an animal that's conditioning properly. When you're looking at an animal that's going to condition properly, you're effectively looking for an animal that will for an animal to put on any sort of conditioning, they probably need to be putting on more than about 2.25 pounds a day. All right. If they're over 800 pounds, that probably goes up, a bit more, maybe a 2.75. But if you have a little calf, if you have a little 250-pound calf, if you have a little 300-pound calf, for them to effectively develop properly as a commercial animal, you're effectively looking at putting on more than about 2.25 pounds a day. If you can put on about 75 pounds a month on that animal, and you take that animal from 200 pounds up to about 650 pounds, or even up to 850 pounds, by the time you get them to by 650 pounds, by the time you get them to 850 pounds, they'll effectively be at a body conditioning score of 6. Okay, almost all the time. Granted that you didn't start off with some, I don't know. I don't even know if it's possible to have a body conditioning score 6 calf at 200 pounds. I don't even know if that's possible. I don't even know if that's possible. All right, because that calf, the frame of that calf is effectively going to grow. If you think about it, 200 pounds to 300 pounds is a 50% increase in the animal size. Okay, so if you have a 200-pound animal and that animal is obese, right? It's a body conditioning score 6. By the time they hit 300 pounds, they will have grown 50%. All right, their bones and their body will have grown 50%. I haven't ever seen a body conditioning score of 6 on a 200-pound calf, and so is it possible? I'm sure it is, but that's effectively what you're looking to do. I don't make this stuff up. I don't make the rules, right? They always, the old saying, "Don't hate the player, hate the game," right? The game is the game. Okay. I don't make the rules. You don't make the rules. The commercial beef industry is the commercial beef industry. And, I would highly suggest getting in the commercial beef industry because it is a massive market, a lot of liquidity. People are buying and selling beef all the time. The price of a commodity animal is effectively stabilized by the broader equities market. You can actually go on the stock market right now and look up the price of a feeder cattle animal, and it will just be right there. It will say feeder cattle animal is worth this much money. All right, and you got commodity animals. The 4 biggest commodity animal breeds in my local area here in Texas are the Angus, Hereford, Charolais, and Brahma. Right, those are the 4 big commercial animal breeds in my local area. Charolais, or they got the Angus, Hereford, Charolais, and Brahma. Okay, those are the 4 biggest commercial breeds in my area. If you go on the internet and you look up what a Angus animal looks like, and you look up what a Hereford animal looks like, and you look up what a Charolais animal looks like, and you look up what a Brahma animal looks like, and you only go and buy those 4 animals, those are the only 4 animals that you buy, then you're good to go. All right. If you see some brindle calf and you see some longhorn, or you see like a whatever, a Corriente, or you see some animal, some whatever, and the animal just you see a Holstein or something, and you look at that animal and you legitimately think that the animal is an Angus, a Hereford, or a Brahma, or a Charolais, and it's not, then you're an idiot. Okay, like there's no way to possibly mess it up. Angus animals look like Angus animals. Hereford animals look like Hereford animals. Brahma animals look like Brahma animals. And Charolais animals look like Charolais animals, okay? And if you have an Angus that is crossed with a Hereford, it will look like a Brangus. Or it will look like an Angus. It will look like an Angus crossed with a Hereford, okay? Excuse me. If you have an Angus crossed with a Hereford, it will look like an Angus crossed with a Hereford, okay? It will effectively be an Angus animal with a white face. What's called a black white-faced animal. A red white-faced animal, okay? Something like that. If you have a Hereford animal that is crossed with a Brahma animal, it will look like a Hereford animal crossed with a Brahma. All right, it will be what's called a Brayford. All right, they'll have a white face and they'll have a big ear on them. All right, if you have an Angus animal that's crossed with a Charolais animal, it will look like an Angus animal crossed with a Charolais animal. They're called Smokies, right? Their coat's a little bit dark. They look like if you took an Angus, and it's not really a gray color, but their coats are a little bit dark. If you take an Angus animal and cross it with a Charolais, you effectively get what's called a Smoky. All right, that's what they look like. It looks like you took an Angus animal and crossed it with a Charolais, and you got a little bit of a dark coated Charolais type animal. And if you mess that up, then you're an idiot. Okay, if you legitimately and if you don't but local markets may be different. I talk about this. Your local market. The thing about my local market is that there are a massive number of cattle in my area. All right, there are massive numbers of cattle. People raise all type of cattle, all type of cattle. Your local market may legitimately just be straight number one type animals being sold at commodity prices. That might be your local market. Your local market may legitimately have access. You may have access to large amounts of cheap lease land, right? That may be your local market. Your local market may be that it's extremely cold in the winter. That may be your local market. I don't know, right? You may have access to more irrigation water. I don't know. Your local market will be different than mine. You're just gonna have to take a look at your local market and figure it out. All right, you're gonna have to come up with a reasonable plan and make money. All right, to think about making money. All right, you don't want to be in a situation where you're gonna throw a Hail Mary into the middle of nowhere, leverage yourself to the eyeballs for no reason, and everything's gonna work out for you in a magical fashion. And then you go on a Disneyland adventure, and then you just end up wrecking yourself financially for all of eternity. Okay, I didn't even buy my first. I didn't even buy a farm until I had. I must have been working on this on legitimately learning how to farm for 12 years before I even bought my first piece of land. All right, I don't know how else to put it. You know, I'm a first generation farmer, okay? I'm a first generation farmer. And when you take a look at what I'm doing, I effectively have some of the best results known to mankind, all right? My grass, world class. My cattle, world class. My income, world class. All right. And I would actually, when I actually take a look at it, I mean, I'll be growing more grass. I'll be running more cattle, and I will be making more money. I'm actually on the up and up. Okay, I got a lot of things on the table right now, and things are going very well. And I don't want to give myself bad juju. And when I sell these calves, I will probably make enough money to buy like 75, 80 animals, 3 loads of grain, 2 loads of fertilizer, and I'll still have like $5,000 left over. And then 2 months later, I'll probably get paid again. And then after that, I'll probably be getting paid every month. Okay, and I'm looking to utilize some leverage. All right, I probably invest about 125 to 150% of what I make. All right, when you take a look at what I'm doing, and I'm not suggesting that you do this. All right, when I talk about these things, you have to remember that I am telling you just my perspective. All right, from my perspective, this is how I'm not suggesting that you go and invest 125 to 150% of your income. Okay, I'm not suggesting anybody do that. I've already said that. If you don't have a good idea to begin with, more money is not going to help you. All right, if you cannot do something to begin with, more money is not going to help you. If anything, it could actually end up putting you in a situation where you are effectively ruined for the rest of your life. All right, if you end up in a situation where you're using debt, if you're using debt and you think that if you're legitimately in a situation where you're using debt because you believe that putting money into something, if you just throw money into something, that it will magically work out for you, it's not going to work. All right, and especially if you're using debt to do it, you could legitimately end up in a situation where you never recover from that. Legitimately never recover. All right, you will go down forever and you will never recover, okay? You will put yourself in a hole that you cannot crawl out of for the rest of your life. And a lot of people end up in that situation with debt. University loans are a very good example of this kind of debt. There are, and university, I'm not bashing it, whatever. I'm just saying, let's take a look at it for what it is. There are a lot of people, but also house payments and mortgages and car payments are also another very realistic look at this. And credit card payments are also another very good realistic look at the utilization of debt in a way that ruins people's financials forever. Okay, it's not just university education. It's not. University education is one. Credit cards is another one. Mortgage payments are another one. Car payments are another one, and the list goes on forever. Okay, there are types of debt that if you utilize debt incorrectly, it could put you in a situation where you are just financially ruined and you cannot get ahead no matter what. Because at the end of the day, you're more or less just going to die an idiot. So that's it for me today. YouTube, y'all have a good one.